I like it here. It feels like a country where a useless man could be happy.
And are you a useless man?
I follow the way of the Buddha.
It's good to know that there are other useless people in this world besides me.
It's easy to get the McDonagh brothers mixed up. Younger brother Martin has the slightly higher profile, writing and directing films like In Bruges, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and the recent award winner, The Banshees of Inisherin. Older brother John Michael McDonagh makes quirkier, occasionally even funnier films like The Guard and Calvary. But The Forgiven is rather drier in every sense.
It's 400 miles to Asna.
Long way to go for a party.
The Forgiven opens with Ralph Fiennes and Jessica Chastain driving through the Sahara Desert at night. They play a married couple, I wouldn't say a particularly happily married couple, called David and Joe. They're driving to a party being thrown by friends of Joe deep in the heart of Morocco. And something bad happens.
Face it, David, we're lost.
That's the time.
No, it's not.
This is the time.
No, David.
That was so bloody stupid.
It was an accident. He stepped out in front of us. We don't want the police showing up, poking their noses into everything.
A young Arab boy runs out into the road while David and Joe are arguing. There's a crash and he's killed. The couple's host, Richard, a rather good Matt Smith, is an old Morocco hand. He follows in a long, not particularly noble line of wealthy, often corrupt Western tourists, exploiting young Moroccans over the years.
How did it happen? You should tell me before we tell the police, get everything ironed out.
We were bowling along looking for the sign for Asna. And there was a lot of sand blowing across the road.
Richard tells Michael there shouldn't be a problem, it was an accident and so on. In fact, the whole party is made up of people for whom life is generally free of problems or indeed purpose. Once again, The Forgiven takes us to the world of the pampered rich.
Now listen, are you going to Mobil weekend or are you going to enjoy yourself?
It's not a crime to enjoy yourself, you know.
I suppose I could make the effort.
The guests of Richard and his boyfriend Dally are mostly dedicated to the proposition, let's throw money at our boredom. Well, that's certainly the motto of Tom, played by Christopher Abbott, who, seeing that Michael is distracted by his problems with the police, decides to start flirting with Michael's wife Jo.
Been here before?
We never get away. David works all the time. His patients are all rich old bags who harass him mercilessly around the clock. This is a strange place for a holiday home. It's like they're living out some kind of fantasy, I guess.
Of all the people wallowing in idle luxury, including journalists, socialites, aristocrats and hangers-on, the closest thing to a decent human being, initially at any rate, is Richard. He tries to find a formula to keep both his guests and the local Moroccans happy. The sourest is David, who didn't even want to be here in the first place.
Well, the main thing is to come clean, cooperate with the police and seem overwhelmingly contrite. We can do that, can't we?
If it's absolutely necessary.
David.
But David is about to learn a lesson in contrition when the dead boy's father arrives. He's no easygoing Moroccan. He's a nomadic Berber, and he won't be fobbed off by glib Western words or even money.
He didn't mention money? No. He wants you to return with them to bury the boy. It is customary in these parts.
The father will only be satisfied with David coming with him to his remote mountain camp and helping the family bury the son. Understandably, David isn't keen on being driven so far, literally, out of his comfort zone.
So has it occurred to you that he might actually be planning something a lot nastier than anything you can anticipate?
You've forgotten about my husband.
Yes, I have. And so have you.
The Forgiven, as the name suggests, is about getting past something difficult to forgive. The boy was the father's only son. The culprit has to overcome decades of prejudice. Meanwhile, the rest of the party carries on as if nothing happened, though they are intrigued by some holes in the story David and Joe initially told them.
What did you do with this ID? Bury it.
They didn't just hit him. They ran over him. Maybe more than once.
The story splits between what happens to David when he goes away and what happens to Joe when David goes away. And once again, we're confronted by our views of the rich and privileged. Why should we even care about people who so obviously only care for themselves?
What did they call it in your country?
Roadkill. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide.
I have to confess some of my own prejudices rather got in my way. I find Jessica Chastain a bit unengaging at the best of times. And for me, The Forgiven kept feeling slightly undercooked. Nobody seemed to care much about it, which is why it arrived on Prime Video with so little love.
We should get out of the sun before you start to bleed.
I don't bleed very easily.
Star Ralph Fiennes, who I generally do engage with, does his best with his part of the story. But the mystery at its heart, did something else happen out there, is left too unclear to justify an otherwise strong ending. In other words, it got Prime Video when it really needed a Prime producer making it better.
Why did you come here?